Start.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji and Mataji's Dhanam Pranam. Narad Muni Bajai Vina Radhikaramana Name.
Narad Muni Bajai Vina
Radhikaramana Name. Nama Amani Udita Haya Bhakat Gita Same.
Nama Amani Udita Haya Bhakat Gita Same.
Narad Muni Bajai Vina Radhikaramana Name. Narad Muni Bajai Vina Radhikaramana Name. Amiyadhara Bari Se Gana Shravana Yugale Giya. Amiyadhara Bari Se Gana Shravana Yugale Giya. Bhakta Jana Sadhane Nache Dhoriya Apna Kiya.
Bhakta Jana Sadhane Nache Dhoriya Apna Hiya.
Narad Muni Bajai Vina Radhikaramana Name. Madhuri Pura Asava Pashi Mataya Jagat Jane.
Madhuri Pura Asava Pashi Mataya Jagat Jane.
Kehova Kande Kehova Nache Keho Mate Mane Mane.
Kehova Kande Kehova Nache Keho Mate Mane Mane.
Narad Muni Bajai Vina Radhikaramana Name. Chavadan Narade Dhori Primera Sagana Ro.
Panchavadan Narade Dhori Primera Sagana Ro.
Kamala Sananachiya Bole Bolo Bolo Hari Bolo.
Kamala Sananachiya Bole Bolo Bolo Hari Bolo.
Narad
Muni Bajai Vina Radhikaramana Name.
Sahasranana Paramasuke Hari Hari Boli Jaya.
Sahasranana Paramasuke Hari Hari Boli Jaya.
Nama Prabhave Matilo Vishwa Nama Rasa Sabe Paya.
Nama Prabhave Matilo Vishwa Nama Rasa Sabe Paya. Narad Muni Bajai Vina Radhikaramana Name.
Shri Krishna Nama Rasane Spuri Pura Lo Amara. Shri Krishna Nama Rasane Puri Pura Lo Amara. Shri Rupa Pade Yachaiha Bhakati Vinoda Dasa. Shri Rupa Pade Yachaiha Bhakati Vinoda Dasa.
rasa. Narad Muni bajai veena, Radhika Ramana name. Narad Muni bajai veena, Radhika Ramana name. Nama amani udita haya, Bhakata gita rasa me. Nama amani udita haya, Bhakata gita same. Narad Muni bajai veena, Radhika Ramana name.
Bhakti Vinod Thakur Maharaj ki jai.
Translation. Translation. When the great soul Narada Muni plays his veena, the holy name Radhika Raman descends and immediately appears amidst the kirtan of the Lord's devotees. Like a monsoon cloud, the holy name showers nectar in their ears. All the devotees, due to great ecstasy, repeatedly dance to their heart's content. All the people of the universe becomes maddened upon entering this intoxicating shower of nectar. Some people cry, some people dance, and some others become fully intoxicated within their minds. Lord Shiva, embracing Narada Muni, repeatedly makes loud screams of ecstatic joy. And Lord Brahma, dancing very ecstatically, says, all of you kindly chant Hari Bol, Hari Bol. In great happiness, the thousand-faced Anantasesha chants Hari Hari by the influence of the transcendental vibration of the holy name. The whole universe becomes ecstatically maddened, and everyone tastes the mellows of the holy name. Thakura Bhakti Vinoda, the humble servant of the Lord, says, the holy name of Krishna has fulfilled all my desires by vibrating on everyone's tongue. Bhakti Vinoda, therefore, prays at the feet of Sri Rupa Goswami that the chanting of Harinam may continue like this always. Hari Bol. There's a beautiful pastime related to this song. In America, there was a program going on, and there is one Mataji who is singing bhajans and kirtans, and Srila Prabhupada was present in the hall as well. And while the kirtan is going on and the tune is going on very nicely, suddenly in the middle, Srila Prabhupada starts singing this song while other song is going on. And everybody is confused and surprised. Why is Srila Prabhupada singing this song in the middle? They didn't say anything at that time, but when the song is over, the Mataji approached Srila Prabhupada and asked, Prabhupada, why did you sing the song in the middle? And Prabhupada said very, ecstatically, don't you see? Narada Muni is here. Don't you see? He's still dancing there. He's there. He's dancing. He's really enjoying the holy name. So, it's acharyas can really see that, that wherever there is Harinam, Narada Muni comes, and it is said that wherever there is Harinam, Narada Muni comes and really hears and really enjoys the melodies. So that's a pastime of this song. So beautiful song by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji Mataji. So we have done 3 chapters so far, and I'm going to ask you some questions to check how much you have learned in the previous chapters. So small question on the avatars of Krishna. So can anybody list the names of avatars that you have read in chapter 2, chapter 3? Like all the avatars, the Leela avatars, incarnations of the Lord. Not the ones but any other avatars that you want, that are not the Dasha avatars, any other avatars that you heard.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Can I?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Mataji, please.
Kumara, Narada, Narnara, Rishi, Kapiladev,
Yes.
Prithu Maharaj, Yajna.
Yes. Yes, Mataji. Any more?
Vyasdev.
Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Very nice. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You have covered a lot of them. Hare Krishna. And can anybody tell about the 3 Purusha avatars that we have?
Prabhuji,
Yes.
Karnodakashaya Vishnu,
Hari bol.
Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, and Kshirodakashaya Vishnu.
What are the functionalities? What do they do, Prabhuji? Karnadakshaya Vishnu?
The Karnodakashaya Vishnu is the prime source, Prabhuji. He creates he's the beginning, I think, Prabhu. And
Yes.
then when universe is created, Garbhodakashaya Vishnu enters into the universe.
Yes.
And Kshirodakashaya Vishnu resides in each soul.
Yes. Very nice, Prabhuji. Very nice. Hari bol. Very nice. Super. Excellent, Prabhuji. Okay. Anybody remembers the 6 questions asked by sages? 6 questions. That's in the chapter 1, which Canto 1, chapter 1. 6 questions by sages. Okay, I'll anybody?
One
Yes.
question is, why did Krishna appear, Prabhu? Purpose of
Yes, that's question 3. Okay, I'll tell. Just to refresh your memory. Question 1. What is the absolute and ultimate good for the people in general? Right? That's question 1. Question 2. Explain the essence of all scriptures for the good of all living beings. Question 3. Why did the Lord appear in the womb of Devaki as the son of Vasudeva? Question 4. Describe the Lord's adventures in his various incarnation Purusha avatars. And question 5. Narrate the transcendental pastimes of Lord's multi-incarnations, Leela avatars. Question 6 and final one. Whom did the religious principles take shelter of after Lord Krishna's departure? So there are 6 questions, and they're gradually answered in each of the subsequent chapters. Okay, let's move on to the 4th chapter now. It's a very small chapter, around 31 shlokas. So we will be able to finish in this class, and there's a lot of things to read. So be prepared. Like nicely, we can read the purports, and we have a very nice fellowship tea at the end. The final shloka, when we finish, Narada Muni appears to help Vyasadeva. One second, let me open Vedabhas. Haribol. So chapter 4 is divided into 3 parts. Actually, 3 parts. First part is the Shaunak Rishi's further question is Sutta Goswami. If you remember, Shaunak Rishis and Sutta Goswami are assembled in the Naimisharanya and sages are questioning, because Sutta Goswami is such an exalted Acharya that he is present in the place where Shuka Maharshi explained Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj. So he's in the front row and he absorbed Bhagavatam so nicely that Shaunakaji Rishis are asking Sutta Goswami to explain Bhagavatam to them. And so they're inquiring submissively, like it is explained in Bhagavad Gita. So texts 1 to 13 are asking about Shaunak Rishi is asking further questions to Sutta Goswami, and the first 2 verses are about Shaunak Rishi glorifying Sutta Goswami. So the first shloka tells us how a speaker has to be glorified by one of the elders in the sabha before it starts. Right, it gives the etiquettes of a sabha, of an assembly. And third shloka is about questions about the history of Bhagavatam. Like, he asked, where did it come from? When did it start? When did Vyasadeva write it? So we'll know about the history, the timelines. And 4 to 8 has questions and qualities about Sukadeva Goswami, and how he was perceived in Hastinapur when he is walking and enters Hastinapur. How is he perceived? Because that's where Parikshit Maharaj announced everything, went to the banks of Yamuna. Remember, Hastinapur is New Delhi right now, and he was the heir of Kurus after the Pandavas and the Kurukshetra is done. He is the only one. And so he went to Hastinapur, Parikshit Sukadeva Goswami. That's question 3. And Verses 9 to 12 are questions about Parikshit Maharaj, his birth and activities and renunciation. They ask, why did he renounce? He was such a great king. Why did he renounce, and why did he, go to the banks? 14 to 18 is about Vasudev and how he divided the Vedas and how he saw the anomalies coming in Kali Yuga and thought about writing Mahabharata as a Panchama Veda. And he knows the degraded qualities of Kali Yuga and he wants to help us in Kali Yuga. 19 to 23, to simplify and expand the Vedas among Kali Yuga people, he divided into 4 and entrusted into disciples, like who are the prime acharyas for each of the Vedas is explained there. And 24 to 25 is compilation about Mahabharata. 26 to 27, in spite of all this, he's called Veda Vyasa because he divided the Vedas and then he wrote Mahabharata, he wrote Upanishads, he wrote Povedas, he wrote everything, Puranas, Itihasas. In spite of doing all this, he was dissatisfied at his heart, and there is some gap in his heart that he's not able to fill. And he was meditating on it, and he thinks, despite my vows in worship, I feel incomplete, maybe because I have not pointed out the devotional service. And that's at that exact same time, his master, spiritual master, Narada Muni appears. And the spiritual master knows the heart of the student, and he always comes to help his student, is explained in the last shloka. So let's move forward. Some shlokas, I'll read the verse, and then I'll ask you to read the translation. Some will just directly go. Hare Krishna. Before starting, let's start our prayers, seeking permission from our acharyas. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parjana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhano Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabho Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 The rest of the slokas you can recite with me. Narayanam Namaskrityam Narancheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhoti Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Namah Pankajanabhaya Namah Pankajamaline Namah Pankajanetraya Namaste Pankajangre Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratvishe Namaha Namo Brahmanyaya Devaya Brahmanahitaya Cha Jagadhitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama
Rama Hare Hare.
Om Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhate Grim Et Prahadam Samaham Mandev Sri Gurum Girata Dinatarinam Sri Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram Uma Poitra Paltrova Sarvavasthana Tupva Esmaret Pudarikaksham Sabahya Bhyantar Suchi Sri Vishnu Sri Hare Krishna. Let's start with Sloka 1. Sri Vyasa Uvacha Iti Bruvanam Samstuya Muninam Dirghasat Kshatrinam Vruddhakula Patisutam Bravacha Saunako Bravit. Translation. Vyasadeva said, on hearing Suta Goswami speak thus, Saunaka Muni, who was elderly, learned leader of all the rishis engaged in the prolonged sacrifice ceremony, congratulated Suta Goswami by addressing him as follows. So, Saunaka Muni and Suta Goswami are assembled in Saunaka and Namisharya and doing a prolonged sacrifice ceremony, yajna. And during the end part of the yajna, these questions are going on, and Saunaka Muni is being an elderly person in the assembly, is congratulating Suta Goswami and addressing him in the following ways. So, can somebody read the purport, please?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Purport translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Purport.
Yeah.
In the meeting of learned men, there are congratulations are addressed for a speaker, the qualification of the congratulator should be as follows. It must be the leader of the house and the elderly man. He must be vastly learned also. Sri Shaunaka Rishi had all these qualifications, and thus he stood up to congratulate Sri Suta Goswami when he expressed his desire to present Srimad Bhagavatam exactly as he heard from the Shukadeva Goswami, and also realized it personally. Personal realization does not mean that one should, out of vanity, attempt to show the one's own learning by trying to surpass the previous acharyas. He must have full confidence in the previous acharyas, and at the same time, he must realize the subject matter so nicely that he can present the matter for particular circumstance in a suitable manner. The original purpose of the text must be maintained. No obscure meaning should be screwed out of it. Yet it should be presented in the interesting manner for the understanding of the audience. This is called realization. The leader of the assembly, Saunaka, could estimate the value of the speaker. Sri Suta Goswami simply by his uttering Yataditam and Yathamati, and therefore he was very glad to congratulate him in ecstasy. No learned man should be willing to hear a person who does not represent the original Acharya. So the speaker and the audience were bona fide in this meeting where Bhagavatam was being recited for the second time. That should be the standard of recitation of the Bhagavatam. So the real purpose can be served without difficulty. Unless this situation is created, Bhagavatam recitation for extraneous purpose is useless labor, but both for the speaker and for the audience.
Hari Bol, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Yeah. So much has been described in this purport. So many important things for all of us to note. Definitely one is how to congratulate the speaker, and who should congratulate the speaker in an assembly of learned people. The senior most should do that. Similarly, when we are in assembly and we are giving some lecture, we should definitely seek permission from all the seniors in the room. And that's what we do all the time, right? And second thing, Prabhupada is clearly explaining us how to preach. Very clearly, he's saying we should never ever surpass the text of previous acharyas. We should present everything as it is, but we should present it in a way that is interesting to the audience. That means you can give your own personal examples, you can give your own realizations, but you should never give extraneous commentary or additional or your own interpretations of those. You should definitely follow, like when we are reciting Bhagavatam, we are directly following the purport of Prabhupada, right? We can give an example that is related to you and how you realized it, but not more than that. There are multiple examples of that which were condemned when somebody tried to give their own bhashyam in a different meaning to it. So we should be very careful. And Prabhupada also explains many times that Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita has to be explained as it is, but based on the time, place, circumstances, you should give examples and make it very interesting, very interesting. So I was hearing the lecture of Gaurang Darshan Prabhu yesterday, and he explains it very nicely how one of the speakers, when he was listening to, could easily explain a concept of body and the soul to even a small child, right? There was this talk about body and soul in science of self-realization class, and somebody was not getting realized on this concept. So he called a small child onto the stage and asked her what's her name. And then I said, like, what is this? He showed the shirt. This is my shirt. Okay, what is this? This is my head. What is this? This is my hand. And similarly explained that, this is when we don't call like, this is me, right? We say this is my head, this is my body, this is my, this is my hand, this is my shirt. Similarly, it's so simply explained that this is my body. This is not me. Myself is the soul. And everybody in the audience very nicely got it, because he could show that it is example of a small child, explaining that. So that is one of the examples that is given. Similarly, we should understand and try to get such examples and preach. So that's very important, is what is told here. And third point that is mentioned is the audience and the speaker of Bhagavatam, how they should be, and how genuine and genuinely they should be interested in understanding this, and not like sitting and for entertainment. It's very important for both the person who is reciting and the people who are listening to, and otherwise it's a user's labor for both speaker and the audience. Hare Krishna. Let's go to the second verse. Shaunaka uvacha suta mahabhaga vadano vaditam vara katham bhagavatim punyam yadaha bhagavan shukaha. Translation. So this is the question. This is the question. First question by Shaunaka Rishi. What is the question? Shaunaka said, "O Suta Goswami, you are the most fortunate and respected of all those who can speak and recite. Please relate the pious message of Srimad Bhagavatam, which was spoken by the great and powerful sage Shukadeva Goswami." So he's asking us. And the speciality of this sloka is Shaunaka is addressing Suta Goswami 2 times. Suta Mahabhaga, saying, "Oh Suta, oh Suta." And nice explanation is given by that. Why is he calling twice? Let's see. Can somebody read the purport, please?
Hare Krishna. Sure.
Hare Krishna. Mataji, yes, please.
Suta Goswami is twice addressed herein by Shaunaka Goswami out of great joy, because he and the members of the assembly were eager to hear the text of Bhagavatam uttered by Sukadeva Goswami. They were not interested in hearing it from a bogus person who would interpret in his own way to suit his own purpose. Generally, the so-called Bhagavatam reciters are either professional readers or so-called learned impersonalists who cannot enter into the transcendental personal activities of the Supreme Person. Such impersonalists twist some meanings out of Bhagavatam to suit and support impersonalist views. And the professional readers at once go to the 10th canto to misexplain the most confidential part of the Lord's pastimes. Neither of these reciters are bona fide persons to recite Bhagavatam. Only one who is prepared to present Bhagavatam in the light of Sukadeva Goswami, and one who and only those who are prepared to hear Sukadeva Goswami and his representative and are bona fide participants in the transcendental discussion of Srimad Bhagavatam.
Hari Bol. Thank you, Mataji. So why did Saunaka Rishi call Sukadeva Goswami 2 times? Not because he's not listening, it's because it's of ecstasy, joy. You know, we also do that, right? In satsangs, we call Prabhuji, Prabhuji. That is the expression that we make so that, you know, we are so excited to ask a question to Lilananda Prabhuji, right? Which is two times. That's out of ecstasy. And that is the reason why even in the sloka, it is written 2 times, you know, not to get any, you know, chandas or prasa. It is just to explain the ecstasy of Saunaka Rishi. Vyasadeva has written this nice sloka in this way. Right. And second point is mentioned in this paragraph is how we should not go to impersonalist, you know, reciters of Bhagavatam who jump into 10th canto. A lot of Bhagavat Saptas are held in many places. And in 7 days, they directly jump to 10th canto and start with that and start reciting the pastimes, confidential pastimes, Rasa Leela, which is not the right way. You know, Bhagavatam has to be recited from the first canto, first chapter, as Sutta Goswami said, and by his you know, bona fide disciples like Sutta Goswami, and we should go in the order. You know, that's very important and understand it. Hare Krishna. So go to the third one. So this is the question. This is one of the questions that is asked. Translation: in what period and what place was this first begun, and why was this taken up? From where did Krishna Dvaipayana Vyasa, the great sage, get the inspiration to compile the literature? So the first question asked by Saunaka Munis about the timeline of Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay. Let's see the next verse.
You're in the class lecture.
Hare Krishna. The 4th verse and 4 to 8 verses are a little bit of explanation and questions. So let's go through them, the small ones. Vyasadeva's son was a great devotee, an equibalanced monist whose mind was always concentrated in monism. He was transcendental to mundane activities, but being unexposed, he appeared like an ignorant person. Who are they talking about? They're talking about Sukadeva Goswami. And can somebody read this purport, please?
Hare Krishna.
I can read, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Sri Sukadeva Goswami was a liberated soul, and thus he remained always alert, not to be trapped by the illusionary energy. In Bhagavad Gita, this alertness is very lucidly explained. The liberated soul and the conditioned soul have different engagements. The liberated soul is always engaged in a progressive path of spiritual attainment, which is something like a dream for the conditioned soul. The conditioned soul cannot imagine the actual engagements of the liberated soul. While the conditioned soul thus dreams about spiritual engagements, the liberated soul is awake. Similarly, the engagement of conditioned soul appears to be a dream for the liberated soul. A conditioned soul and a liberated soul may apparently be on the same platform, but factually they are differently engaged, and their attention is always alert, either in sense enjoyment or in self-realization. The conditioned soul is absorbed in matter, whereas the liberated soul is completely indifferent to matter. This indifference is explained as follows.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. So basically, Sukadeva Goswami is explained as liberated soul in this. So even with us, even in this planet, in this Kali Yuga, there are liberated souls and conditioned souls. We are all conditioned. 99% of the people here are all conditioned souls. We are all conditioned souls. But there are liberated souls as well who are self-realized. And the clear distinction is explained in this purport about both of them. So what is the conditioned soul do? He always is engaged in material enjoyment. And what does the liberated soul do? He is enjoying self-realization. In that platform, he's the platform above the material enjoyment. So the liberated soul is always engaged in the progressive part of spiritual attainment, which is something like a dream. So it's the opposite for each other. So for conditioned soul, the liberated soul's activities are like a dream. And for the liberated soul, conditioned soul's activities are like a dream. And the engagements, the work, the activities they do are always like, a little bit puzzling to each other, because especially it's puzzling to the conditioned soul, not the liberated soul, because he knows what he's doing. And the conditioned soul is absorbed in matter, whereas the liberated soul is completely indifferent to matter. And it is explained further in the next slokas. Let's go see what is the next sloka says. Okay, this is a very good example, that it shows how Sukadeva Goswami, in this material world is perceiving as a liberated soul. Translation. While Sri Vyasadeva was following his son, beautiful young damsels who were bathing naked covered their bodies with cloth, although Sri Vyasadeva himself was not naked. But they had not done so when his son had passed. The sage inquired about this, and the young ladies replied that his son was purified, and when looking at them, made no distinction between male and female. But the sage made such distinctions. Can somebody read the purport?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, shall I read?
Yes.
Prabhu?
Yes.
In the Bhagavad Gita 5.18, it is said that a learned sage looks equally on a learned and gentle Brahmana, a Chandala dog eater, a dog or a cow due to his spiritual vision. Srila Sukadeva Goswami attained that stage. Thus, he did not see a male or female. He saw all living entities in different dress. The ladies who were bathing could understand the mind of a man simply by studying his demeanor. Just as by looking at a child, one can understand how innocent he is. Sukadeva Goswami was a young boy, 16 years old, and therefore all the parts of his body were developed. He was naked also, and so were the ladies. But because Sukadeva Goswami was transcendental to sex relations, he appeared very innocent. The ladies, by their special qualification, could sense this at once, and therefore they were not very concerned about him. But when his father passed, the ladies quickly dressed. The ladies were exactly like his children or grandchildren, yet they reacted to the presence of Vyasadeva according to the social custom, because Srila Vyasadeva played the part of a householder. A householder has to distinguish between a male and female, otherwise he cannot be a householder. One should therefore attempt to know the distinction between a body and soul without any attachment for male and female. As long as such distinction is there, one should not try to become a sannyasi like Sukadeva Goswami. At least theoretically, one must be convinced that a living entity is neither male nor female. The outward dress is made of matter by material nature to attract the opposite sex and thus keep one entangled in material existence. A liberated soul is above this perverted distinction. He does not distinguish between one living being and another. For him, they are all one and the same spirit. The perfection of this spiritual vision is the liberated stage, and Srila Sukadeva Goswami attained that stage. Srila Vyasadeva was also in the transcendental stage, but because he was in the householder's life, he did not pretend to be a liberated soul as a matter of custom. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. This last sentence is very important for you. Just remember that. I'll come to that one. But look at this. So you all know the story of Sukadeva Maharshi, right? How he took birth. So basically what happened is Vyasa Maharshi, when his wife was pregnant, recited the whole Bhagavatam to his wife. And Shuka Maharshi, who was in the womb of his wife, heard all the Bhagavatam, and he understood that the whole material world is Dukhalaya Shashvatam, and he would get bound by three modes of material nature if the moment he comes into this world. So 9 months has passed, but he's not coming out of the womb. And he's, the typical thing in the material world is after 9 months, the wife delivers and you come out of the into this material world. But he's not coming out because he understood Srimad Bhagavatam, and he has been benedicted by Lord Krishna. And it's been like a few years after that, and still wife is still pregnant, and he's not coming to the material world. So Vyasa Maharshi asks his son, "Oh son, now it's time for you to come out of the womb and then come into the material world." But he says, "No, I won't come out, because the moment I come in, I'll be attacked by the material modes." So then Lord Krishna comes and gives a benediction that even if you come out, you will never be attached or attacked by the material modes, and you will be aloof from all those. So with that promise, he comes out, and when he comes out of the womb, he's a 16-year-old boy, and he directly comes out and walks into the forest naked, because he's very self-realized. Nitya is this liberated soul, completely liberated soul. What is the qualification of liberated soul are told here, right? He does not have any distinction between any jiva. For him, all are souls, and he doesn't know what is a male and female, and he doesn't distinguish. And as Bhagavad Gita 5.18 says, right? For him, for a liberated soul, a brahmana, a chandala, a dog, or a cow are all same, because he sees spirit in them. He sees spirit in them. So, it is said that when he's walking on in the villages, the damsels who are taking bath just came out to pay obeisances to him, just like that, without wearing any clothes, because they know that he's a liberated soul, and for him, he does not know what's the male and female. All he knows is they're all spirit souls, and he is followed by his father Vyasadeva. But as soon as the Vyasadeva comes, all of them go back and wear the dress and come. And Vyasadeva is like kind of little bit puzzled, like, why are they doing like this? And they tell that, your son is so innocent that he doesn't distinguish. But whereas you are a householder, and householders are supposed to, the householders know the distinction between male and female, and they know as a custom, they know what is happening in there, and they distinguish between male and female. Otherwise, he's not a householder. So to show that distinction, they come out like that. So Vyasadeva is an incarnation of Lord Krishna, and he is more well studied and all that. But just because he's in the householder's life, he did not pretend to be liberated soul. That is the key point here to Vijay Mataji. He wanted to follow the custom of a householder, and hence, he pretended to, be a householder. He followed the orders of a householder, and hence the damsels, were behaving like that. So this paragraph, it kind of glorifies Sukadeva Goswami and this self-realization, and that's why he's called a Parivrajikacharya. And Parivrajikacharya is one realized soul who walks around the entire earth distributing the knowledge, and he does not stop anywhere. He keeps going on and on. And specifically, he goes to householders' houses, and he sits there and gives the knowledge and keeps on moving. There is no fixed place for him. And lot of Parivrajikacharyas are there in our parampara, and all of them are realized liberated souls who the soul and whole purpose is for them to just go on to a different places and give the knowledge that is required for the householders to realize their life and progress in spiritual path. 6. How was he, still like Sukadeva Goswami, Sukadeva, son of Vyasa, recognized by the citizens when he entered the city of Hastinapur, New Delhi, after wandering into the provinces of Kuru and Jangala, appearing like a madman, dumb and retarded? So again, the same question is asked by Saunak Munis, because he is completely walking. He doesn't know what's going on in surroundings. He's like walking in his own self-raised way. But the question is, how did people recognize him, right? So that's the question that is asked. Can somebody read this quickly? Purport, please. Prabhuji, Mataji, anyone?
Yes, Prabhuji, I'll tell it.
Yes.
The present city of Delhi was formerly known as Hastinapura because it was first established by King Hasti. Goswami Sukadev, after leaving his parental home, was roaming like a madman, and therefore it was very difficult for a citizen to recognize him in his exalted position. Sorry, in his exalted position. One second, probably. A sage is not therefore recognized by sight, but by hearing. One should approach a sadhu or a great sage not to see but hear him. If one is not prepared to hear the words of a sadhu, there is no profit. Sukadeva Goswami was a sadhu who could speak on the transcendental activities of the Lord. He did not satisfy the whims of ordinary citizens. He was recognized when he spoke on the subject of Bhagavatam, and he never attempted jugglery like a magician. Outwardly, he would appear to be a retarded, dumb madman, but in fact, he was the most elevated transcendental person.
Yes, one of the key points from this purport is you should not see the externals of a sadhu. You should not go to see him. How is he looking? How is his hair? How is his dress? No, we should go to a sadhu to hear him. We should always be eager to hear him, because the sadhus are elevated and exalted personalities, and what comes out of their mouth is the self-realized and knowledge that is coming from the scriptures. So we should always remember that. We should not really never see the externals of a sadhu. Okay, next question. How did it so happen that King Parikshit met this great stage, making it possible for this great transcendental essence of Vedas, Bhagavatam, to be sung to him? So the next question they're asking. This is it's not a question, this is an explanation. Sukadeva Goswami was accustomed to stay at the door of a householder only for long enough for a cow to be milked. And he did this just to sanctify the residence. So it is said that, when these acharyas and sadhus, they roam around, they don't stand or sit in a place not more than the time it takes to milk a cow. How much time it takes to milk a cow? Maybe a few minutes. That is the amount of time they stay. And why do they stay even for that time? To give the sanctity to the residents and give the knowledge to those people. Yeah. Yeah, maybe somebody can read this, the selected part.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Therefore, Sukadeva Goswami is an ideal preacher established in the transcendental position. From his activities, those who are in the renounced order of life and dedicated to the mission of preaching the message of Godhead should learn that they have no business with the householder's save and except to enlighten them in transcendental knowledge. Such asking for alms from the householder should be for the purpose of sanctifying his home. One who is in the renounced order of life should not be allured by the glamour of the householder's worldly possessions and thus becomes subservient to worldly men. For one who is in the renounced order of life, there is much more dangerous than drinking poison and committing suicide.
Yes. So these renounced personalities, when they go around and ask alms, they are doing a favor to us. They're doing a favor to us with that by stopping at our house and asking for alms, right? It is beneficial to the householder only, not for him, right? He's not asking for himself. And the sadhus, the so-called sadhus, what they should not do, they should not never be attached to the householder's material possessions. For them, they're all like useless, like pieces of glass, right? And by doing that, if somebody does that, it is much more worse than drinking poison and committing suicide, is what is told in this sloka. So now they're inquiring more about Parikshit Maharaj. It is said that Maharaj Parikshit is a great first-class devotee of the Lord and that his birth and activities are all wonderful. Please tell us about him. So this is a question. Let's go next one. So he was a great emperor and possessed all the opulence of his acquired kingdom. He was so exalted that he was increasing the prestige of the Pandu dynasty. Why did he give up everything to sit down on the bank of the Ganges and fast until death? So Prabhuji's Matajis, after Kurukshetra war is over, the Pandavas left the planets. Krishna, is done with his avatars, and the only person, only the heir of the Kuru dynasty was Parikshit Maharaj, and the entire planet Earth has been given to Parikshit Maharaj, and Parikshit Maharaj is a great king that took care of entire population, including all the jivas, and he took care of the kingdom so very well. And then He ruled it for so many years. And a lot of story happened in the middle. And they're asking, like, what is the story, what happened? And why did, at this time, we are talking about him sitting in the banks of Yamuna, renouncing the whole kingdom to his son Janamejaya. And then he's fasting until death. He's not eating anything, he's not drinking anything. They're questioning what happened. Why did it, what happened, and like what was the story and why did it happen? Maharaj Parikshit was the emperor of the world and all the seas and oceans, and he did not have to take the trouble to acquire such a kingdom by his own effort. He inherited it from the grandfathers, Maharaj Yudhishthira and his brothers. Besides that, he was doing well in the administration and was worthy of the good names of his forefathers. Consequently, there was nothing undesirable in his opulence and administration. Then, why should he give up all these favorable circumstances and sit down on the banks of Ganges fasting till death? This is an astonishing, and therefore all of us were eager to know the cause. So why did it happen? They were asking. He was such a great emperor that all his enemies would come and bow down at his feet and surrender all their wealth for their own benefit. He was full of youth and strength, and he possessed kingly opulence that were difficult to give up. Why did he want to give up everything, including his life? There was nothing undesirable in his life. He was quite a young man and could enjoy life with power and opulence. So there was no question of retiring from the active life. There was no difficulty in collecting the state taxes because he was so powerful and chivalrous that even his enemies would come to him and bow down at his feet and surrender all the wealth for their own benefit. Maharaj Parikshit was a pious king. He conquered his enemies, and therefore the kingdom was full of prosperity. There was enough milk, grains, and metals, and all the rivers and mountains were full of potency. So materially, everything was satisfactory. Therefore, there was no question of untimely giving up his kingdom and life. The sages were eager to hear about this. Prabhuji's Mataji, when a king is very pious and he's taking care of all the living beings in his entire kingdom, the rivers will be flowing nicely, opulently. The rains will come on time. There won't be any problem from the enemies. The enemies also will surrender like Samant Rajas, and they pay taxes to him. And there'll be enough milk, grains, and metals. So everything will be opulent. So if you see the current scenario of excessive rains, famine, drought, all the problems, corona, etc., all are because of the unpious kings are the rulers of the planet Earth. Unless until we have good rulers who are very pious and God conscious, you will not see a balanced resources in this planet Earth. That's why we see every year is El Nino, Ninoel, more rain one year, less rain one year, drought, these hurricanes, always troubling people, always some kind of other problem. It's all because of non-pious kings and their selfish motives. 12. Those who are devoted to the cause of the personality of Godhead live only for their welfare, for the welfare, development, and happiness of others. They do not live for any selfish interest. So even though the Emperor Parikshit was free from all attachment and worldly possessions, how could he give up his mortal body, which was a shelter for others? So they're very much curious what happened and all that stuff. So can somebody read this paragraph, please? Yes, one of you can read.
Perfect. Parikshit Maharaja was an ideal king and householder because he was a devotee of the personality of Godhead. A devotee of the Lord automatically has all good qualifications, and the empire was a typical example of this. Personally, he had no attachment for all the worldly opulences of in his possession. But since he was king for all around welfare of his citizens, he was always busy in the welfare work of the public, not only for this life, but also for the next. He would not allow a slaughterhouse or killing of cows. He was not foolish and partial administrator who could arrange for the protection of one living being and allow another to be killed. Because he was a devotee of the Lord, he knew perfectly well how to conduct his administration for everyone's happiness. Men, animals, plants, and all living creatures. He was not selfishly interested. Selfness, selfness, selfishness is either self-centered or self-extended. He was neither. He was neither. He was neither. His interest was to please the supreme truth, the personality of God. The king is the representative of the supreme Lord, and therefore the king's interest must be identical with that of the supreme Lord. The supreme Lord wants all living beings to be obedient to him and thereby become happy. Therefore, the king's interest is to guide the all subject back to the back to the kingdom of God. Hence, the activities of the citizens should be so coordinated that they cannot be they cannot they can at end go back to home, back to garden. Under the administration of a representative king, the kingdom is full of opulence. At the time, human beings need not to eat animals. There are ample food grains, milk, fruits, vegetables, so that the human beings are well as the animals can eat sumptuously and to their heart's content. If all living beings are satisfied with the food and shelter and obey the prescribed rules, there cannot be any disturbances between the living being and another. Emperor Parikshit was worthy king, and therefore all were happy during this reign. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So many nice things are told in this purport. An emperor who is the best emperor is always thinking about his subject matters, like the living entities in his kingdom, and he's never attached to his worldly opulences, and he's always thinking about their welfare and the welfare of the public in his kingdom. So he would never allow slaughterhouses or killing of the cows. He always protected the cows, and he made sure that and he made sure that nobody harms the cows. And he's a devotee of the Lord, and he wants to make sure all the subject matters in his kingdom are also God conscious, and they are devotees of the Lord like him. Yadha Radha Tada Praja. And there is no selfish interests or no self-centered interests. His only interest is to please the Lord, and so as he wanted all his kingdom to be like that, which is the ultimate goal. And one of the greatest responsibilities of the king is to take all the living entities in his kingdom back to whom God had, along with him. That is the greatest responsibility. He should never ever deviate from that. So, and if somebody rules a country or a province like in this manner, there will never be dearth of any. There will be ample food grains. There will be no will be any deficiency in food grains, milk, fruits, and vegetables. There will be nutritious and healthy too, right? And everybody gets to eat to their heart's content, and there is no need for somebody to kill some animal and eat, right? And these are the things that are described here. And there won't be any disturbances. And that is the kingdom of Parikshit Maharaj, and that is how he ruled it, is what is explained in this paragraph. We know that you are expert in the meaning of all subjects, except some portions of Vedas, and thus you can clearly explain the answers to all of the questions we have just put for you. So here they're asking, please, these are the questions we have, answer our questions. Okay, let's read these two paragraphs. They are important to know about Vedas and Puranas. Can anybody read a first paragraph?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I can read.
Yes, please.
The difference between the Vedas and Puranas is like between the Brahmanas and the Parivrajaka's. The Brahmanas are meant to administer some putative sacrifices mentioned in the Vedas, but the Parivrajakacharyas or learned preachers are meant to disseminate transcendental knowledge to one and all. As such, the Parivrajakacharyas are not always expert in pronouncing the Vedic mantras, which are practiced systematically by accent and meter by the Brahmanas who are meant for administrating Vedic rites. Yet it should not be considered that the Brahmanas are more important than the itinerant preachers. They are one and different simultaneously because they are meant for the same end in different ways. Hare Krishna.
Very good. Hare Krishna. So very nicely explained about Brahmanas and Parivrajakacharyas. So Srila Prabhupada is a Parivrajakacharya. And what is the responsibility of Parivrajakacharya? Responsibility of a Parivrajakacharya is to disseminate the knowledge and give it to all the living beings. It's exactly the same difference between Vedas and Puranas. Vedas have hymns, rituals, spells, and Brahmanas are experts in reciting the Vedas, reciting the spells, and then the hymns, Vedic hymns. But whereas Parivrajakacharyas, they take the Puranas, which is the essence of all Vedas, which has stories, which has information, so that it can be practically applied. So that is what is taken by Parivrajakacharyas, and they roam around the whole globe and give the knowledge. So Brahmanas and Parivrajakacharyas are like they're different for different purposes, and they are meant, they're meant to do different things. Okay, second paragraph, somebody can read.
Hare Krishna, I read.
Yes, Hare.
There is no difference also between the Vedic mantras and what is explained in the Puranas and Itihasas. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, it is mentioned in the Madhyandina Shruti that all the Vedas, namely the Sama, Atharva, Rig, Yajur, Puranas, Itihasas, Upanishads, etc., are emanations from the breathing of the Supreme Being. The only difference is that the Vedic mantras are mostly begun with Pranava Omkara, and it requires some training to practice the metric pronunciation of the Vedic mantras. But that does not mean that Srimad Bhagavatam is of less importance than the Vedic mantras. On the contrary, it is the ripened fruit of all the Vedas. As stated before, besides that, the most perfectly liberated soul, Srila Sukadeva Goswami, is absorbed in the studies of the Bhagavatam. Although he is already self-realized, Srila Sutta Goswami is following his footsteps, and therefore his position is not the least less important because he was not expert in chanting Vedic mantras with metric pronunciation, which depends more on practice than actual realization. Realization is more important than parrot-like chanting.
Yes. So realization is more important than parrot-like chanting. Yes. And that's what is explained in this. Srila Sutta Goswami, Sukadeva Goswami is absorbed in the studies of Bhagavatam, although he is already self-realized. And Sutta Goswami is following the footsteps of Sukadeva Goswami in explaining the Bhagavatam. Yeah, so that's the difference explained here. Very well. Now, Sutta Goswami started speaking here. Sutta Goswami said, when the second millennium, so he's answering the questions here, if you can see. So because they asked the timeline, right? So they're answering the question. Sutta Goswami said, when the second millennium overlapped with the third, the great sage Vyasadeva was born to Parashara in the womb of Satyavati, daughter of Vasu. There is a chronological order of the 4 millenniums, namely Satya, Dwapara, Treta, and Kali. So that is the order, right? But sometimes there is an overlapping during the regime of Vayavasvata Manu. So right now Vayavasvata Manu is going on for us. Shvetavara Kalpe Vayavasvata Manvantare. There is an overlapping of 28th round of 4 millenniums. So in the duration of a Manu, the 4 yugas come 71 times. The loop of 4 yugas comes 71 times. So when did Vyasadeva was born? The 28th round of the 4 millenniums. Like if you go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 until 71, the 28th round of the 4 yugas, that is when Vyasadeva is born. Of the 4 millenniums, and the 3rd millennium appeared prior to the 2nd one. So it so happens sometimes looks like Satya, Dwapara, Treta, and Kali. Sometimes Satya, Treta, and Dwapara also happens. So when that happened, and 3rd millennium appeared before the 2nd, in that particular millennium, Lord Sri Krishna also descends. And because of this, there was some particular alteration. The mother of great sage was Satyavati, the daughter of Vasu, fisherman, and the father was great Parashar Muni. That is the history of Vyasadeva birth. So Vyasadeva's parents are Satyavati and Parashar Muni. And every millennium is divided into 3 periods, and each period is called a Sandhya. So the beginning period, the end period and the Madhya Sandhya. Previous pre-Sandhya, post-Sandhya, and middle Sandhya. Vyasadeva appeared in the third Sandhya of the particular age. So this is where he appeared. Once upon a time, Vyasadeva, as the sun rose, took his morning oblation in the waters of Saraswati and sat alone to concentrate. Where is Saraswati? The river Saraswati flowing in the Badrikashram area of Himalayas. So the place indicated here is Samya Prasha in Badrikashram, where Sri Vyasadeva is residing. By the way, the Badrikashram that is told here is still there in Uttarakhand. When you go, you can visit Badrikashram. That is the same Badrikashram Vyasadeva wrote, recited Bhagavatam to Ganesh Maharaj. So there is a Guha, Vyasa Guha also that you can visit. I have not visited, but I heard that Badrikashram is there. The great sage Vyasadeva saw anomalies in the duties of millennium. This happens on the earth in different ages due to the unseen force of time. The great sages like Vyasadeva are liberated souls, and therefore they can see clearly past and future. Thus, he could see the future anomalies in the Kali age, and accordingly he made arrangement for the people in general so that they can execute a progressive life in this age which is full of darkness. The people in general in this age Kali are too much interested in matter, is temporary. Because of ignorance, they are unable to evaluate the asset of life and be enlightened spiritual knowledge. So when did Vyasadeva recited Bhagavatam? In the second yuga of the 28th cycle, which is that time. And he knew that after 2 yugas, Kali Yuga will come, and he predicted, and he knows, it's not prediction, he knows that in Kali Yuga people will suffer with too much attachments to the material world, and he wanted to give the knowledge to us so that we progress in a spiritual path. The great sage, who was fully equipped in knowledge, could see through his transcendental vision the deterioration of everything material due to the influence of the age. He could also see that the faithless people in general would be reduced in duration of life and would be impatient due to lack of goodness. Thus, he contemplated for the welfare of men in all statuses and orders of life. Okay. Let's read this purport. It's important. Can somebody read the first paragraph, please?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Please read.
The unmanifested forces of time are so powerful that they reduce all matter to oblivion in due course. In Kali Yuga, the last millennium of a round of 4 millenniums, the power of all material objects deteriorates by the influence of time. In this age, the duration of the material body of the people in general is much reduced, and so is the memory. The action of matter has also not so much incentive. The land does not produce food grains in the same proportions as it did in other ages. The cow does not give as much milk as it used to give formerly. The production of vegetables and fruits is less than before. As such, all living beings, both men and animals, do not have sumptuous, nourishing food. Due to want of so many necessities of life, naturally the duration of life is reduced. The memory is short, intelligence is meager. Mutual dealings are full of hypocrisy and so on.
Yes. So Kali Yuga is told to be the age of quarrel, hypocrisy, and less intelligence. People will have short life. If you see, my grandmother and their grandmothers, they lived for a long time. And even if you see now, there are people from the old ages that live longer and healthier. And the reason for that is the food and the grains and the milk that is produced 50 years back is much more nutritious and wholesome than what we are getting now. All we are getting now is non-nutritious food. It's like deprived of nutrients. It fills our tummy but not gives us the wholesomeness. So it is very clearly predicted, and Vyasadeva knew that this kind of age of Kali would come, and he's trying to help us in this age. Can somebody read the next 2 paragraphs, please?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Shall
Yes.
I read it, Prabhu?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Prabhu. The great sage Vyasadeva could see this by transcendental vision. As an astrologer can see the future fate of a man, or an astronomer can foretell the solar and lunar eclipses, those liberated souls who can see through the scriptures can foretell the future of all mankind. They can see this due to their sharp vision of spiritual attainment. Shall I continue, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji, please continue until the end.
And all such transcendentals who are naturally devotees of Lord are always eager to render welfare service to the people in general. They are all real friends of the people in general, not the so-called public leaders who are unable to see what is going to happen 5 minutes ahead. In this age in this age, the people in general, as well as so-called leaders, are all unlucky fellows, faithless in spiritual knowledge, and influenced by the age of Kali. They are always disturbed by the various diseases. For example, in present age, there are so many TB patients and TB hospitals. But formerly, this was not so, because the time was not so unfavorable. The unfortunate men of this age are always reluctant to give a reception to the transcendentalist, who are representatives of Srila Vyasadeva, and selfless workers. And selfless workers are always busy in planning something which may help everyone in all statuses and orders of life. The greatest philanthropists are those transcendentalists who represent the mission of Vyasa, Narada, Madhava, Chaitanya, Rupa, Saraswati, etc. They are all one. They are all one and the same. The personalities may be different, but the aim of the mission is one and the same, namely to deliver the fallen souls back to home, back to Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Very nice. So just like how Prabhupada is saying, right? Time, place, circumstances, giving examples. So Prabhupada is giving examples of TB. At that time, when he wrote the purports, TB was very prevalent, right? So right now, maybe it's COVID, and we can give the example of COVID. Like that, all the time there's some other problem, because of people not paying attention to God consciousness, and the age of Kali being deteriorated. So all these things are happening, right? So the real friends of the people are these transcendentalists who are the Parivrajakacharyas who are distributing the knowledge. Those are the real friends. And also, who are the greatest philanthropists? That is explained in the last sentence. Not the people who distribute money, food, and shelter. The greatest of all, yes, they are helping people temporarily, right? So that's what it is told. Like, say, if you give food to one person today, he's hungry now, his tummy is full, tomorrow morning he's hungry again. You give some clothes, those clothes are gone after some time. But the greatest philanthropy that you can do is to give the knowledge, the spiritual knowledge, which can transform his heart and he can make a better human being. So that is why the greatest philanthropists on the planet Earth are those transcendentalists who represent the mission of Vyasa, Narada, Madhva, Chaitanya, Rupa, Saraswati, who give this knowledge, and the people who take the knowledge from them and pass it on as it is. And that is the greatest welfare you can do to this Kali Yuga. And that is a mission that we need to take and follow and deliver to the fallen souls. That is what is explained by Prabhupada here. That's why the mission of preaching is the most pious mission and most important mission, so that we can transform the hearts, right? We can fill their hearts with goodness, so that they can we can give the path for them to go back to Godhead. That is the permanent solution of all the problems. All others are temporary solutions for the problems. He saw the sacrifices mentioned in the Vedas were means by which the people's occupations could be purified. And to simplify the process, he divided the Vedas into 4 in order to expand them among men. So that's why he's called Veda Vyasa. So Vedas are in the beginning just came in one chunk. And what he did, Veda Vyasa did, he divided them into 4 so that different, occupations could be purified. And formerly, there was only one Veda named Yajur. That was the name of the original Veda. And the 4 divisions of sacrifices were specifically mentioned. But to make them more easily performable, the Veda was divided into 4 divisions of sacrifice just to purify the occupational service of the 4 orders. Above the 4 Vedas, namely Rig, Yajur, Sama, and Atharva, there are the Puranas, like Mahabharata, Samhitas, which are known as the 5th Veda. You know, that's why Mahabharata is called Panchama Veda. Srila Vyasadeva and his many disciples were all historical personalities, and they were very kind and sympathetic toward the fallen souls of the age of Kali. As such, the Puranas and Mahabharata were made from the related historical facts, which explain the teaching of the 4 Vedas. There is no point in doubting the authority of the Puranas and Mahabharatas as parcels of Vedas. In the Chandogya Upanishad, the Puranas and Mahabharata, generally known as histories, are mentioned in the 5th Veda as 5th Veda. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, that is the way of ascertaining the respective values of revealed scriptures. So that's why Mahabharata is called Pancham Veda, and it is a history, and it's more interesting because there are people who cannot understand the Vedas, the higher philosophies. This is the essence of the Vedas. And it is written so that it can be explained to non-intelligent people also. It is explained in the next slokas. The 4 divisions of the original sources of the knowledge, the Vedas, were made separately, but the historical facts and authentic stories mentioned in the Puranas are called 5th Veda. Yes, Mahabharata is 5th Veda, Panchama Veda. After the Vedas were divided into 4 divisions, Paila Rishi became the professor of Rig Veda, Jaimini the professor of the Samaveda, Vaishampayana alone became glorified by the Yajur Veda. The different Vedas were entrusted to different learned scholars for development in various ways. So they are the professors of each of the Vedas. Okay. Just information here. The Sumantu Muni Angira, who was very devotedly engaged but interested in the Atharva Veda, and my father, Ramaharshana, who is speaking here? Sutta Goswami. Sutta Goswami's father is Ramaharshana, was interested with the Puranas and historical records. So, to preserve each of these Vedas and to propagate further, each one Rishi was assigned as a caretaker professor of the Veda. So that's what is told here. In the Shruti Mantras, also it is stated that Angira Muni, who strictly followed the rigid principles of Atharva Veda, was the leader of the followers of Atharva Veda. 23. All the learned scholars in their turn rendered their entrusted Vedas unto their many disciples, grand disciples and great grand disciples, and thus respective branches of followers of Vedas came into being. So remember, Vedas like Shruti. So at that time, when these people are interested, they had Gurukuls. In that Gurukuls, they were reciting the Vedas. Their disciples, their grand disciples, great grand disciples learned it through each of their gurus and recited, memorized, and passed it on. The original source of knowledge is Vedas. There are no branches of knowledge, either mundane or transcendental, which do not belong to original text of Vedas. They have simply been developed into different branches. They were originally rendered by great, respectable, and learned professors. In other words, the Vedic knowledge, broken into different branches by different disciplic successions, has been distributed all over the world. No one, therefore, can claim independent knowledge beyond the Vedas. Vedesha sarve rahme vedyam, Vedanta krit veda videva chaham. Right? That's what is told in Bhagavad Gita also. Thus, the great sage Vyasadeva, who is very kind to the ignorant masses, edited the Vedas so they might be assimilated by less intelligent men. Okay, so can somebody read this purport? It's important. 4.
I can read.
Please go ahead, bro. Please go ahead.
Thank you. The Veda is one, and the reasons for its division in many parts are explained herewith. The seed of all knowledge, or the Veda, is not a subject matter which can be easily understood by an ordinary man. There is a stricture that no one should try to learn the Vedas who is not a qualified Brahmana. The stricture has been wrongly interpreted in so many ways. A class of men who claimed Brahmanical qualifications simply by their birthright in a family of Brahmana claim that the study of Vedas is a monopoly of the Brahmana caste only. Another section of people take this as an injustice to members of other castes who do not happen to take birth in a Brahmana family. but both of them are misguided. The Vedas are subjects which had to be explained even to Brahmaji by the Supreme Lord. Therefore, the subject matter is understood by persons with exceptional qualities of goodness. Persons who are in modes of passion and ignorance are unable to understand the subject matter of Vedas. The ultimate goal of Vedic knowledge is Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. The personality is very rarely understood by those who are in modes of passion and ignorance. In the Satyuga, everyone was situated in the mode of goodness. Gradually, the mode of goodness declined during Treta and Dwapara Yugas, and the general mass of people became corrupt. In the present age, the mode of goodness is almost nil. And so for the general mass of people, the kind-hearted, powerful sage Vyasadeva divided the Vedas in various ways so that they may be practically followed by the less intelligent people in modes of passion and ignorance. It is explained in the next sloka as follows.
Yes, this is a very important purport because it clears a misconception. Many people say there are two classes of people that are explained here. Some people say that Vedas, there's a stricture that says no one should try to learn Vedas except Brahmanas. That is, we are hearing from a long time. And there is a separate section of people that say Vedas is a monopoly, only Brahmanas can learn, and people say it's an injustice to other castes. Why only Brahmanas? Why can't we do it? Because they think the other section of people say, because this is a monopoly. But what Prabhupada clearly explains here is both of them are misguided. The original reason for that is different. The Vedas are subjects which are explained, which are very complex to understand. That's why when Brahma is born from the navel of Mahavishnu, he was very much confused where he is, what is, why he is born, why is he produced, what he is supposed to be done. And then he meditated on Lord Vishnu for like hundreds and thousands of years. Then the Vedas are explained to him by Mahavishnu. And because they're so complex, it has to be explained personally Mahavishnu Lord to Brahma. That is why, there's a complex subject matter. Therefore, this subject matter of Vedas can only be understood by people in mode of goodness, and good qualities, right? Only by those people it can be understood by exceptional qualities of goodness. People who are in the modes of passion and ignorance are unable to understand and interpret. They can read it, but they cannot interpret, and then they will misinterpret it. Why? Because the ultimate goal of all Vedas is to know Krishna. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, right? By Vedas, I am to be known, and I am the knower of Vedas, both, right? If we don't follow the goal of knowing Krishna, Lord Krishna, by knowing the Vedas, there is no use. That is why you have to be in a certain mode to understand the Vedas. And it is understood by people in Satyuga because they are all in mode of goodness. But gradually in Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga, things are deteriorated and people have no goodness factor at all. People are almost always in mode of passion and ignorance. So, and people have become less intelligent to understand, right, by nature. And that is why Vyasadeva expected it and predicted it. And he made Mahabharata as a Panchama Veda, fifth Veda, as a Purana, as an Itihasa for us, so that we can understand the Vedas in a simple manner. Because Mahabharata is the essence of Vedas by itself. And more explanation will be in the next sloka. So this is very important to understand and tell people if they are telling, like this. This is very clearly explained. Out of compassion, the great sage thought it wise that this would enable men to achieve the ultimate goal of life. Thus, he compiled the greatest historical narration called Mahabharata for women, laborers, and friends of the twice born. So, for whom are Mahabharata is written? For women, laborers, and friends of the twice born, because they are not in the mode of goodness and they don't have exceptional quality to understand. But Mahabharata is made interesting, but all the qualities of Vedas are written in there so that people can understand. Can somebody read this purport, please? It's important. First paragraph. Yes.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, please.
Yeah, the friends of the twice born families are those who are born in the families of Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas, and spiritually cultured families, but who themselves are not equal to the forefathers. Such descendants are not recognized as such for want of purificatory achievements. The purificatory activities being even before the birth of a child, and the seed-giving reformatory process is called Garbhodhana Samskara. One who has not undergone such Garbhodhana Samskara or spiritual family planning, it is accepted as being as actually twice born family.
Is not accepted as being twice born.
Sorry.
Not accepted.
Not accepted as being an actual twice born family. Garbhodhana Samskara is followed by other purificatory processes, out of which the sacred thread ceremony is one. This is performed at the time of spiritual initiation. After this particular samskara, one is rightly called twice born. One birth is calculated during the seed giving samskara, and the second birth is calculated at the time of spiritual initiation. One who has been able to undergo such important samskaras can be called a bona fide twice born.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So the problem in Kali Yuga is there is no Brahmana. Brahmanas are not by birth. Just because you are born in a Brahmana family, you are not a Brahmana. At the max, you are a Brahmana Bandhu. Why? Because to be born as a Brahmana, you have to follow certain samskaras, starting with Garbhodhana Samskara, which is the seed giving ceremony. At that time, certain things have to be followed so that, you know, when man and woman unite, the right things are done and the right souls enter into the womb. If not, you know, that is the first birth. The second birth of a Brahmana is when he is given a thread, a sacred thread, and that is called Upanayana, right? That is the second time he is done. So that is why he is called and that is the time he is spiritually initiated, and that's why Brahmana is called a Dvija. Dvija. A pure Dvija is one who has done these samskaras at the right time and the right way. If not, nobody in Kali Yuga, even though they are born to a Brahmana family, can claim to be a Brahmana. At the max, they are Vija Bandhu. They are the relatives of a Brahmana, but not a Brahmana. That is why, you know, even, you know, that's why it's also told Kalau Sudra Sambhava in Kali Yuga, because nobody follows the samskaras. Everybody is a equivalent to a Shudra. Can somebody read the next two paragraphs? Please.
Can I read?
Yes, please.
If the father and mother do not undertake the process of spiritual family planning and simply beget children out of passion only, their children are called Dvijabandhus. These Dvijabandhus are certainly not as intelligent as the children of the regular twice-born families. The Dvijabandhus are classified with the Sudras and the woman class, who are by nature less intelligent. The Sudras and the woman class do not have to undergo any samskara, save and accept the ceremony of marriage. The less intelligent
continue.
The less intelligent classes of men, namely women, Sudras, and unqualified sons of higher caste, are devoid of necessary qualifications to understand the purpose of transcendental Vedas. For them, the Mahabharata was prepared. The purpose of Mahabharata is to administer the purpose of Vedas, and therefore within this Mahabharata, the summary Veda of Bhagavad Gita is placed. The less intelligent are more interested in stories than in philosophy, and therefore the philosophy of the Vedas in form of the Bhagavad Gita is spoken by Lord Sri Krishna. Vedavyasa and Lord Krishna are both on the transcendental plane, and therefore they collaborated in doing good to the fallen souls of this age. The Bhagavad Gita is the essence of all Vedic knowledge. It is the first book of spiritual values, as the Upanishads are. The Vedanta philosophy is the subject matter for study by spiritual graduates. Only the postgraduate spiritual student can enter into the spiritual or devotional service of the Lord. It is a great science, and the great professor is the Lord himself in form of Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the persons who are empowered by him can initiate others into the transcendental loving service of the Lord.
So Hari Bol. So whatever I explained in the second paragraph, And Mahabharata is prepared because there are less intelligent people. The reason for that is they cannot understand Vedas. And even if they try to understand, they will misinterpret and they don't understand properly. So, and they're very philosophical. So for making it very interesting to people, even now we can see that, right? It's very difficult to sit and listen to a 3-hour philosophy class, right? Very difficult. We need a lot of examples, a lot of jokes, like, a lot of humor in the middle, relevant examples, make it more interesting through PowerPoint presentations. We can see that all along. Because of that reason, Vyasa knew that, and he created Mahabharata. He wrote Mahabharata, which is the essence of all the Vedas, which is everything put in there, which is the history that happened. And nicely, Lord Sri Krishna embedded Bhagavad Gita in there to give us the real essence of everything, right? And they, Prabhupada is saying very nicely that both Lord Krishna and Vyasadeva has collaborated and given these scriptures, because Vyasadeva himself is a literary incarnation of Lord Krishna. He is none other than Lord Krishna in a literary form. So for us to get enlightened and to get this knowledge, this Mahabharata and Bhagavad Gita inside Mahabharata is given to us. So what is and Prabhupada says, what is the graduate, postgraduate studies? He says Mahabharata and Bhagavad Gita is graduate studies, and postgraduate studies is Chaitanya Charitamrita, given by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And so that's how we should progress. We should start with Bhagavad Gita. We should start with, next is Bhagavatam, and then is Chaitanya Charitamrita, is postgraduate studies. Just like how you study, in your academic education, like from first grade to postgraduate studies. Similarly, for us, it is the first grade is to 10th, 12th grade is science of self-realization, all the 12 classes. Then comes Bhagavad Gita, then comes Bhagavatam, and then once you are done with that, you get promoted to read Chaitanya Charitamrita. Oh, twice born Brahmins. Still, his mind was not satisfied, although he engaged himself in working for the total welfare of people. So what did he do so far, Vyasa? He took the Yajur Veda, which is the complete lump sum of Vedas, divided into 4 parts, assigned multiple professors so that they can do it. Then he thought about Kali Yuga. He knew that people will be less intelligent, and he wrote Mahabharata with interesting, history that happened. There is Bhagavad Gita embedded in it. Even with doing all this, he was not satisfied in his heart. He is feeling some kind of gap in his heart. Thus, the sage, being dissatisfied at heart, at once began to reflect, because he knew the essence of religion, and said within himself. The sage began to search out the cause of not being satisfied at heart. Perfection is never attained until one is satisfied at the heart. This satisfaction of heart has to be searched out beyond matter. I have, under strict disciplinary vows, unpretentiously worshipped the Vedas, the spiritual masters, and the altar of sacrifice. I have also abided by the rulings, and I have shown the import of disciplic succession through the explanation of Mahabharata, by which even women, Shudras, and others, friends of Christ born, can see the path of religion. No one can understand the import of Vedas without having undergone a strict disciplinary vow and disciplic succession. The Vedas, spiritual masters, and sacrificial fire must be worshipped by the desiring candidate. All these intricacies of Vedic knowledge are systematically presented in Mahabharata for the understanding of the women, the labor class, and unqualified members of Brahmana, Kshatriya, or Vaishya families. In this age, the Mahabharata is the most essential than original Vedas for us, because it's the essence of everything and we can easily understand. I am feeling incomplete, though I myself am fully equipped with everything acquired by the Vedas. Undoubtedly, Srila Vyasadeva was complete in all the details of Vedic achievements. Purification of the living being submerged in the matter is made possible by prescribed activities in the Vedas, but the ultimate achievement is different. Unless it is attained, the living being, even though fully equipped, cannot be situated in a transcendentally normal stage. Srila Vyasadeva appeared to have lost that clue and therefore felt dissatisfaction. So, Vyasadeva is feeling that gap, that dissatisfaction even after writing this, which is the inspiration for the coming 4th sections. Let's see what's happening. This may be because I did not specifically point out the devotional service of the Lord, which is dear both to perfect beings and the infallible Lord. The dissatisfaction which was being felt by Srila Vyasadeva is expressed herein in his own words. This was felt for the normal condition of living being in the devotional service of the Lord. Unless one is fixed in the normal condition of service, neither the Lord nor the living being can become fully satisfied. This defect was felt by him when Narada Muni, his spiritual master, reached him. It is described as follows. So he was sitting and meditating on all the things that he is feeling, and then the feeling of voidness, and then what happened? His spiritual master Narada Muni appeared. He came. As mentioned before, Narada reached the cottage of Sri Krishna's wife Vyasa on the banks of river Saraswati, just as Vyasadeva was regretting his defects. The vacuum felt by Vyasadeva was not due to his lack of knowledge. Bhagavad Dharma is purely devotional service of the Lord, to which the monist has no access. The monist is not counted amongst the Paramahamsas, the most perfect of the renounced order of life. Srimad Bhagavatam is full of narrations of the transcendental activities of the personality of Godhead. Although Vyasadeva was an embodied divinity, he still felt dissatisfaction because in none of his works were the transcendental activities of the Lord properly explained. The inspiration was infused by Sri Krishna directly in the heart of Vyasadeva, and thus he felt the vacuum as explained above. It is definitely expressed here that without the transcendental loving service of the Lord, everything is void. But in the transcendental service of the Lord, everything is tangible without any separate attempted fruitive work or empiric philosophic speculation. So, does he not know? Is he not a realized soul? Yes, he is. Inside his heart, he knows all these things. But why is he feeling void? He is feeling void because he is not expressed it outside for the welfare of the human beings. That is why he's feeling the void. He wrote everything, but he didn't express this part, which is the transcendental loving activities of the personality of Godhead. That is why he's feeling dissatisfaction. And who gave his inspiration? Lord Krishna himself gave the inspiration to Vyasadeva. And he is the one who is reciting in his heart and telling him, and giving the voidness so that he can write it for the greatest benefit of the mankind. At the auspicious arrival of Sri Narada, Sri Vyasadeva got up respectfully and worshipped him, giving him veneration equal to that given to Brahmaji, the creator. Vidhi means Brahma, the first created living being. He is the original student as well as a professor of Vedas. He learned it from Sri Krishna and taught it to Narada first. So Narada is the second Acharya in the line of his spiritual disciplic succession. He is a representative of Brahma, and therefore he is respected exactly like Brahma, the father of all vidhis, regulations. Similarly, all other successive disciplines in this chain are also equally respected as representatives of the original spiritual master. So if you remember, the original spiritual master is Lord Krishna, and then Brahma comes from his navel. He gets all the knowledge. Brahma explains to his son Narada Muni. Narada Muni explains to his to his disciple Vyasadeva, and that's how it comes through the disciplic succession. And that's why we are called Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. So that's the end of this chapter, Prabhuji's Matajis. Thus end the purports of the first canto, fourth chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Appearance of Sri Narada. So it's a very nice small chapter that we could finish in this class. Thank you very much for attentively hearing and participating in reading this. I'm also studying the Bhagavatam just like all of you. Just explain a little bit whatever I know. So please forgive me if there are any mistakes that you forgive your servant made, and anything else is in the benediction of my gurus and acharyas. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, any reflections, any supporting comments, please share.
Prabhu, wonderful session, Prabhu. Okay, so many important points came up, Prabhu. Very nice, Prabhu.
Thank you,
Very nice. Wonderful, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You are gone sloka by sloka, Prabhu. Wonderful.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
You gone sloka by sloka, Prabhu. Wonderful, Prabhu. Every sloka I have gone.
Thank you, Prabhuji. I tried my best.
Word by word, sloka by sloka.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, can you explain the conditioned and liberated soul?
Yes, Prabhu. Hassan Prabhuji is asking, sir. Prabhuji, conditioned souls are all of us, Prabhuji. All the living beings in this. 1 second, I'll let the bell finish. I'll tell. Okay. So Prabhuji, conditioned souls are all the people in the Kali Yuga, Prabhuji. And as is explained in Bhagavad Gita, the moment the soul enters this material world, it gets contaminated by three modes of material nature, by mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. And just like a raindrop, right? When it is in the sky, it's pure, it's uncontaminated. But the moment it falls on the ground during the rainy season, it gets contaminated with dust and becomes like the water becomes dirty. So all the souls that are born in this material world are subjected to three modes of material nature. And that means we are very much impacted by them. We behave, based on how we are impacted by them, right? When you are in mode of goodness, you act nicely and you are in a good sense, and you are influenced by the mode of passion, you express so much of anxiety, so much of emotions, and you act in that way. And mode of ignorance is like you just do ignore everything, and then you are completely aloof of everything. It's like, which is not good, in a not a good way. So all the people in this material world are conditioned souls, and we are very much influenced by the material world, the surroundings around us, the people around us, and we still think that we are this body. We enjoy all the things. We try to enjoy the material senses by getting attached to the material objects, and there is no knowledge that can elevate us beyond this. So those are all conditioned souls. Elevated souls are liberated souls are the people who are still, who are in this world, but they realized that we are not this body, we are the soul, and they know the three modes, and they transcend above the three modes. So you go above the plane, and you know that you are not this body, you are the soul. So they're not impacted by any miseries like heat and cold, happiness, distress, joy. It's all, they're aloof from all that. They're exhibiting the same qualities when they're happy, when they're sad, when they're in distress, because they know that all the things that are happening to us are temporary, right? They're temporary in nature. They are not permanent. The soul is a permanent thing that goes, across, and they realize the connection between us and the Supreme Lord, which is the loving connection between us and Supreme Lord, and they know the goal, is to go back to Godhead. And the liberated souls, all the souls, all the people in the Golok Vrindavan are liberated souls. That means they don't, they're freely, moving in the Golok Vrindavan. But why are they here? Because they are sent by the Lord as the messengers for him to propagate the knowledge here, right? They're not coming here just like us. We are all coming here because of our own free will, by rejecting the Lord, and we wanted to enjoy the material world on our own. That's why Lord said, okay, fine, you have the independence, I'm sending you, I'm creating the material world for you, you go and enjoy. But the liberated souls are here not because they are sent here, because they are sent by the Lord to help us realize that we don't belong here. So those are the liberated souls. I hope I explained it okay, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank you.
Praveen Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
I have two questions, Prabhu. Sorry.
Sure, Prabhuji. Yes.
First, what is monism, Prabhu? And then why I'm asking that question is, Shukadeva Goswami, I think he heard, I'm not sure, I heard from somewhere, he was a parrot of Krishna and Radharani. Then he heard about God from Shiva, and then he came into he came as son of Vyasadeva, and
Yes.
And then when Krishna said he came out, right, Prabhu, because he was reluctant to come to the material world.
Yes.
But then why he called monist? Because from beginning he was devotee of Krishna, devotee of Lord, right, Prabhu? So that's why, thank you.
So, Prabhuji, monist means impersonalist, Prabhuji. Impersonalist means the philosophy is different from them. They are more into the scriptures. They worship the impersonalist, like the Brahman part of it. The Brahman. So the absolute truth is described by three ways: the Brahman, Paramatma, Lord Sri Krishna. So with all the knowledge that he got from his father when he is in the womb, he got the impersonal understanding of the Lord. He did not get the real understanding of the absolute truth, the topmost understanding. And that's why he's called monist to start with. But the moment he came out of this world, right? And then when Lord Krishna came and gave the benediction, then he became a devotee of the Lord Krishna. But in the beginning, in the first phase of his life, he was a impersonalist. But then, same with 4 Kumaras. 4 Kumaras are also, they are not devotees of the Lord to start with. But when they went to Vaikuntha, and when the Lord Krishna came out, and then they smelled the tulsi leaves, the mala. With that, they became the devotees of Lord Krishna. So there's a brief period where he was the understanding was up to the Brahman part, and then he became a devotee of Lord Krishna, and he became a Parivrajaka Acharya, which distributed the glories of the Lord all across. And in the previous age, he was a personal parrot of Radharani. That's why he's called Sukamarsh.
Prabhu, yes, sorry, Prabhu. Just to add a follow-up question, Prabhu. But when he was in womb only, he listened Bhagavatam from Vyasadeva. That is also mentioned, Prabhu. So still, like even if he listens Bhagavatam when he was in home, still he become monist. Means that everything oneness. What is it? That philosophy, Prabhu. How it has not gone is my understanding, Prabhu. Because he was a parrot once upon a time, okay, with Radharani, and also in Bhagavatam, okay. So still it has not gone that.
Yes, Prabhuji. So basically he started with that conception, but unless until he was benedicted, he was blessed by Lord Krishna, Prabhuji. So it's again pastime of it's again Lord Krishna wanted it this way, that he wanted Sukadeva Goswami to come into this world to give this knowledge to Parikshit and all of us. So he explained that just by listening to the knowledge, you will become impersonal, and then you get the knowledge. That's not enough. You need the benediction, you need the blessings of Lord Krishna to really understand the pastimes of Krishna, so that you can explain it properly. Unless until you get the blessings of Lord Krishna, right?
The personality, thinking Lord to be a person.
Yeah.
So knowledge is the highest, and it doesn't come very easily. So that's what he wanted to show.
Yeah. So basically, the knowledge, unless until it is blessed by Lord Krishna and somebody is ready to tell the personal glories of Lord Krishna, you are not ready. You are not ready. So that benediction came from the blessings of Lord Krishna. Only then he understood that it is the supreme absolute Lord Krishna which I need to tell the glories to people. Until then, Prabhuji, he understood that at that time that he is a person got glorified, and that is how the love starts, Prabhuji. When you start thinking about somebody as a person, the love starts, the love develops, the unlimited love. Unless until you are in that state, you won't be able to tell the glories of the Lord. And that is what happened to him in that stage, from being impersonal to the person, and that is given by the blessings of Lord Krishna. And that is explained only because it has to be given, and Sukadeva Goswami has to understand that, and and then he is ready to give the knowledge.
Got it. So in nutshell, Bhagavatam he has listened 2 times, then only he became pure devotee. So he was there in womb, that time he listened, again he come out, Vyasadeva completely explained, then he become pure devotee. Something like that we can think of.
No, I think it's only once, Prabhuji. It's only he learned, he listened it to once, but unless until Lord Krishna came and gave him the blessings, he was not ready to glorify Lord Krishna as a person. Until then, he's only theoretical knowledge with the philosophy that is given. That is understood by him, and he required the blessings by Lord Krishna so that he can talk about Lord Krishna as a person, personified, and glorifications can be given to Parikshit Maharaj.
Got it, Prabhu. Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Prabhuji Maharaj, any more questions? Any supporting comments? There is Giraj Prabhu. Anything you want to add, Prabhu?
fourth chapter, first canto, right, Prabhuji? Yes.
First canto, fourth chapter, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
So ipranda itla review now, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji. We started. We changed the process now. All glories to Prasad Prabhu, Prasad Javadi Prabhu. He asked all of us to start from first canto, first chapter, so that we can study. And we have done 4 classes or 5 classes so far, and we are continuing this way, Prabhuji. So whoever is next will take up the next chapter, and we'll continue like that.
Good, Prabhu.
Tomorrow we have to complete this chapter, Prabhu, and then 5th chapter.
Yeah, if the chapters are big, Prabhuji, we are not fitting in, then we'll continue. Like first canto, first chapter was huge, so we took 2 classes. And even the second chapter also, it was huge, so we took 2 classes like that. So there's no hurry, but we want to make sure we study everything properly and thoroughly.
Very good.
Hare
Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Yes.
Hare Krishna. Any more last questions, Prabhuji Maharaj, before we close the class? It's already 9:10. I don't want you to keep for long. You have a lot of services to go through.
Prabhu, thank you for clarification, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Dandatma, Hare Krishna. Okay, thank you very much, Prabhuji Mataji, for attending the class today. And very nice to see all of you. Hare Krishna. Vanchakalptarabhyascha krupasindubhyo patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namo. Anantakoti Vaishnavvrindaki Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Tomorrow will be 5th chapter by Akinchan Priya Prabhu. Please come and he'll explain very beautifully. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. And Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. Thank you for all coordination.